Good morning. We're now going to get into the nitty-gritty of this course. We're going to be beginning to hear about the First Amendment, learn about it, learn about the 5 privileges or rights that it gives us. And then eventually, as we go through the course, you will learn all the different ways that the parts of the First Amendment protect you as journalists, and ways in which it may not protect you like you think it does. But this will not be on Thursday's quiz. Nothing on the First Amendment, but everything that we've done so far. So let's get into this. And I'm sorry, I think I did everything, finished all the PowerPoints from last week. My photo booth here just died. So it's working right now, knock on wood. I'm wearing a black sweater and my signature glasses, as somebody said the other day. And it's a good day in the neighborhood. So here we go. First Amendment. You may want to have this First Amendment PowerPoint open as I go along, and you can follow me. So the first thing I want to do is clear up one thing a lot of people call free speech, free expression. It is free expression if you want to get down to the crux of it, but we call it free speech. The First Amendment does not say expression. But you will see that as it has changed over the years, it now does include quite a bit of expression. But it is called free speech. So, what is it? I'm going to read you the 45 words of the First Amendment, and I'd like you to remember them, because as I list these 5 rights that you have in the First Amendment, I'd like you to remember what they are. If you can, remember the order. There are only 5. You should be able to memorize 5 things for this semester. Okay, this is it. And it's found in the Bill of Rights, which is part of the Constitution. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. I want to make sure that we're high enough. My volume is high enough. Okay, so we've got a two-fisted right to freedom of religion, and it's basically referred to as the freedom of and from religion. Then we have the abridging, we can't abridge freedom of speech, we have that right. We have freedom of the press, which is just called of the press. We have a right to assemble peaceably. This refers to peaceful protest. And then we have the petition. We can petition the government for a redress of grievances, which means we have access to speak to our government, to ask the government, which we think has done us wrong. We ask them to make us whole again. We have the right to address the government in that regard. Going on, so what kind of speech does the First Amendment protect? Written words, spoken words, and here we get expression, expressive conduct, which are actions that do not involve written or spoken words, but do contain a message. So I think the one action that I think you will remember and never forget, when I say it protects expressive conduct, there is something that's been litigated at least a dozen times in our courts, which gives you the right to give the finger, if you know what that means, to a police officer. Now, I'm going to be the last person to recommend that you do that, because whenever you get stopped by a police officer, I'm going to tell you that you should respect him, you should answer him or her, answer his or her questions, be cooperative, do not start a fight, do not get angry with a police officer, do not give the finger to the police officer, okay? That sets your conversation and your dealings with the police on a bad route, a route you don't want to go. So, written, spoken, and expressive conduct. Is all speech protected? Can we say whatever we want to say? A lot of people think that this is what the First Amendment gives us the right to do. I'll say right here and now that for every right you are given, there are limitations. Limitations on place, on time, on so many different things. Your motivation for doing it. When we talk about what the First Amendment does for us, it deals only with government suppression of expression, but not all government suppression of expression. To put that more succinctly, if you work for a private company that does not receive funding from the government, it's totally private, your bosses do not have to give you First Amendment rights. They are not bound by the First Amendment. The First Amendment has to do with your relationship with the government, not your relationship with a private employer. Please put that in your brain and don't lose it. It's very important. So, is government, and often you'll hear me say public. When I say public, that means government. Is government public employee speech protected? The answer to that is, if made while in the capacity of one's public job and in furtherance of one's own interest, it is usually not protected. So what you say as a government employee has to be in the public interest, not in your own private interest. Slide 6. On the same topic. However, speech expressed as an ordinary citizen regarding matters of public concern, that is protected. So if you are not on the job, if you're in your home working on your computer online, you are, and what you're talking about is a matter of public concern, you are pretty much protected to say what you wish to say. It is the court's task to balance the employee's right to free speech with the public employer's interests. We're going to get into something, I work for Troy University. It is a public university. It receives funding from the government. So there are things that we are protected from and for that you would not be protected, or these are rights you might not get at a private university that does not receive government funding. Okay, until the 14th Amendment, the First Amendment has changed over the years. Until the 14th Amendment, it was believed that the First Amendment applied only to the federal government. Basically, you couldn't bring a First Amendment case in your state court because it was not believed to be relevant to anything happening in the state. And in 1866, this is what the 14th Amendment said. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction of the equal protection of the laws. Basically, just think of it as the Equal Protection Amendment. It means that everyone in every state in the United States is equal to every other person in the United States. 1866, we were still not treating African Americans the same as white people. Even today, we are still not abiding by this 100%, not even 90% or 80%. We have a long way to go. People are not treated equally in this country, and we have to make sure that that happens. Now, in 1925, along comes something called the Incorporation Doctrine. The Supreme Court modified its view to include, officially, to include the individual states within the context of the First Amendment. Excuse me. This then bound the states to all of the fundamental guarantees in the Bill of Rights. This is known as the Incorporation Doctrine. So we're not talking about just the First Amendment. We're talking about the entire Bill of Rights. Through the 14th Amendment, the First Amendment applies also to territories, for example, Puerto Rico, Guam, and to aliens legally residing in the United States. So if somebody from another country has a visa, has some formal approval to be in this country, that person is given the rights of the Bill of Rights. All right, I'm going to stop this right here.